come to the greenery.
Hi, my name is Kirsten Segler from the Greenery, and it is now end of September, and we've done our final harvest of our beefsteak type tomatoes and our Roma type. And we've got just a few of each of those families displayed here on the counter. Ones that we thought performed very well, either in yield or have good form as we slice them open to display them, just to give you some points on them. Maybe you'll be interested in trying them for yourself next season. The first group we want to talk about are the Roma type tomatoes. And we've selected three that we thought had to be mentioned this season. The first one here, we actually just brought in the harvest from one plant, just to give you an idea of what kind of production this variety does. This is Plum Regal. This is it up front, sliced up, but this year, these two boxes all came from one plant, and that was strictly just the fall harvest or end of summer harvest. You know, there was some picking done earlier in the season as well. The one in the center here, this is called Sunoma, and the one in the back here, this is fresh Salsa. Now, all these type of tomatoes, they're thicker walled, not a lot of juice or sort of substance in the center. These make these type of tomatoes ideal for paste, for whole canning, and as you would imagine with this, called fresh salsa, really good for making salsa. This variety here is a little more of a box shape to it, a little squarer, more blunt than the typical Roma type. These next varieties of tomatoes that we chose, these are all classed as a beefsteak or large slicing type tomato. They all look fairly identical. Again, this is probably because we've selected the varieties we thought were you know, uniform in their texture from the outside, not too many cracks at the top of the crown, and again, when we cut them open, they all looked very similar. Now again, they're all going to have a little bit of a different taste. Now, I could give you my opinion on how they taste, but we like leaving that up to you, the customer, because everyone has a different taste of what they like, or acidity. That's the key too, is the acidity of the tomato. So that's something, again, we may do more of that in the future, but for now we just wanted to give you a little idea of what they look inside, and varieties that we definitely know you're going to be happy with the yield and the texture and this kind of thing. So starting over here, kind of in the middle, we've got a variety called Whopper. I've mentioned this in previous videos. It's still close to one of our better selling 4-pack tomato varieties. Always comes out as a smooth tomato, never seen any shoulder crack, and just really consistent, good texture and so on as well. Moving along here, this is Champion. Again, a variety we do in the 4-pack section. Not in the specialty section, so a high volume selling variety. And again, a lot of good comments on this variety too, so if you haven't tried it before, give it a shot. Over here, Beefy Boy. First year I've tried this variety, and again, very happy with it. I think it had the second highest yielding plant in the garden, or kind of tied with Whopper. Little bit of green shouldering on this variety that as you'll notice here, it doesn't ripen as uniform throughout the tomato, but still overall really nice. And then over here, this is called Supersonic. Just all around good average looking tomato. Very nice, uniform. Little bit of a shoulder crack there, but you know, there wasn't too many in this variety. You know, sometimes you'll get a variety of tomato where you get all these shoulder cracks developing at the top, and late in the season, that's where you'll develop a little brown spot and rotting occurring. And that's one disadvantage to getting running into a tomato that does that. The tighter they are and less cracks, then they'll hold longer in the cooler wet season later in the fall. And to my left here, the very last variety we're showing in this type of tomato, this here is called Beefmaster, and we again just had to show you what came off of one plant at the end of the season. Pretty remarkable. Not as uniform as some of the others, but again, that's typically the case with a true beefsteak. This is classed as a true beefsteak variety. And look at the size too. I mean, we picked up one that was very large, but that'll almost cover a whole slice of bread. So good meaty type for hamburgers as well, you know. Now over here, one variety we didn't mention earlier. This is called Geronimo. Now this is a variety that typically is grown in the hothouse market. So it's a hothouse variety of tomato, but we've started selling it with our other varieties, and we've got a couple field growers in the Okanagan that work with this variety. One of them does buy quite a few plants from us and sizes them up in the cold frame and gets them out after that. And she's getting a really good yield and production size as well. These are actually a fairly small example of Geronimo. They can get quite large as well. And that's sold early on in March. We'll have some larger plants of that variety. No matter what, everyone has their favorite variety of tomato. We're not saying that you have to change over to one of these varieties that we suggested, but it's always nice to save a spot in the garden for a new variety, expand your horizons, and see how it goes from there. And again, we love your input. Maybe there's certain varieties that we're not promoting enough that you think are your favorite and we should suggest to other people. So give us your feedback, send us an email, give us a call, come by, talk to us about your experiences in the garden with the tomatoes. Just an example here, this gentleman every year he always buys a variety from us called Great White. It's in our heirloom tomato section, and he sent us a little photo here of a tomato he grew this year. 2 pounds, 1 ounce, just amazing. He's got that on the scale. So these are the cool little things that we like to hear about, because obviously if I get a question about this variety, I can suggest it for large-sized mild tomatoes. Again, he didn't like an acidic tomato, and that's what's come out of this. So it's just great to, again, keep in touch with us about things you learn as well. Just want to end by saying we had a great time this year doing the trial between about 60 varieties of tomatoes, including the grape, cherry, plum type smaller tomatoes, beefsteak, and Roma. Next year we're going to do another trial involving a little bit more of the slicing type tomatoes, and I know we gained a lot from it, and hopefully you have too with the information we've given you on these videos. And we hope it benefits you. And the key again is just trying some new varieties yourself as well, and give us your own feedback too.